Joined on Chamber Amplified now by Terry Nielsen of Superior Energy Solutions. Terry, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
So Terry reached out to me at the exact right time as in preparing the podcast. I realized I didn't have a guest for today's episode. Terry had a very timely piece of information he needed to get out. And just like chocolate and peanut butter, here we are, Terry, as there's some big news coming down the pipeline your way.
Yeah, big thing coming down the pike is, we do solar systems here at Superior Energy Solutions. And one of the big ways that companies make this affordable are the tax incentives or the ITC tax credit. And one of the things that the big beautiful bill did last year was it eliminated those starting in July of this year. So if a company is interested in going solar and they want to do it the most affordable way possible, they need to get what they call safe harbored, which is get started with a project with us, get a contract signed, and then we actually have with that safe harbor 4 years to get the system installed. So don't have to get it all paid for today. Just got to get started and make a deposit so that we can get you in the queue and save that tax credit money for you.
The bottom line is there's about a month to get ready for it. And I know sometimes when people talk about solar, they think, oh, I just want to pat myself on the back for the green energy. But the more that we've talked to people over the years, it's transitioned from that to this is a really good way to offset higher energy costs, especially now as everybody's paying more and more. What have you seen in that regard over the last year where we've seen such high energy rate increases?
Well, everybody on the AEP is taking 2 increases. They had their auction last year, and they increased the capacity charge for everybody, and that's different depending on how much electricity you're using. And then this year we had a slight bump as well for distribution charge. That was actually an AEP increase. The first one is a kind of a PJM capacity thing. So everybody's power is going to go up as you continue to see these data centers and other manufacturing coming into Ohio. Because of our cheap electric prices, kind of compared to other places in the country, you're going to continue to see those prices continue to rise. And with solar, what you're getting is you're kind of prepaying your energy. So yeah, the solar system might cost you a good bit of money. I mean, we've put systems in that are over $1 million, but over the life of that system, and you've got warranties that take these systems out 25, 30 years of operation, you're going to be paying something like 3 to 4 cents kilowatt hour for the average price for the next 30 years. And you know exactly what that price is going to be because you've already paid for it. If you're on a AEP system or Toledo, you're typically, if you're a large manufacturer, you're going to be in the 8 to 9 cent range, and you're saying, man, I'm really buying well. And you are compared to residential rates. Residential rates can be anywhere between 13 cents up to 22 cents, depending on what deal you have and who you're on with. But none of those compared to the 3-cent rate you can get if you buy solar.
Now, do these subsidies that are available, do those also apply to residential right now too, or is it strictly on the commercial industrial side?
Well, the residential is available only if you have what they call third-party ownership, which would be a lease of a system or a PPA contract, which is a purchase agreement where you're purchasing the power the system makes. The company that owns the system, they get the tax break. And in these situations, they'll pass that tax break on to you by a reduced cost on the front end. So if you're getting it's like leasing a car. You lease a solar system. Mm-hmm. They're getting that 30% tax credit. They're probably passing on 20% of it on to you. You're leasing the system to 5 or 6 years. And at the end of the 6 years, you're paying, 10% of the cost you would have paid, originally. But the big hitters right now are really commercial, because if you're in Lima, you can get up to 50% of a tax credit. And that's a tax credit that goes right back to you. And that's before depreciation. So we have customers that have signed up, they get a 30% standard ITC. They get a 10% bonus for being in a economically disadvantaged area or in a coal closure area. And then we get them some domestic content and get them another 10%. So now they have $1 million to make the math easy for a system. They're getting $50,000 back the next tax year for tax credits that they can use. And then they get to take depreciation on top of that. So it's not unusual for a commercial system to get 65, 70% of the system offset just with taxes. And all of that, except for the depreciation, goes away July.
What have the conversations with area business owners and companies been like over the last year as they start to look at what they're having to deal with from an energy standpoint?
People are getting a lot more interested in it. You know, for a long time, capacity in Ohio hasn't went up, so we've been blessed with pretty stable prices. And now that we've had the shock of a capacity increase and seeing where things are going and seeing data centers in particular get built, you know, businesses are really starting to look at it. Not just stuff for us; they're looking at, you know, we do LED lights, so we have customers coming to us for LED light efficiency, which can help you 25, 30%. You know, reduce your costs depending on what your business is. And then they look at, you know, buying from an aggregator, whether they sign up for a contract for 2 to 5 years. And the chamber has an awesome energy program that'll come in, audit your business for little to no charge. They'll recommend some things. They'll get you on an aggregate. Once you've done all those things and you still want to save more money, then it's time to look at solar, because solar is the only thing that's going to get you down to those really low numbers that are possible.
I like the idea, and I like it for my own house, but I think it's a great idea for businesses too. Just, I want to have more control over the entirety of the process and not be at the whim. It just gives you stability. You're probably a little bit more tuned into just how much electricity you're using. I think when you have a solar system or something to that degree, I don't know. I look at the people who have like their I'll say Tesla, but I don't know. People can see their little dashboards.
Sure.
And I love dashboards. I look at that. I'm like, ooh, that would be cool. I want that. That's half the reason I want it. But it just feels like you're a little bit more locked in on just what you're consuming energy wise when you're a little bit more vested in that too.
Sure. And, you know, these systems, they have controls and they have monitoring where you can actually look at a system anytime, any day, go back through the life of the system and say, what is that panel 5? What did it produce at 2 o'clock on the 14th? It'll tell you. And it can really clue you into efficiencies and what your demand is doing. You know, for businesses, it's not just we're replacing that system. You know, maybe you're a huge business user and we can't build a big enough solar field on your land to get you 100% offset. But what it can do is it can reduce your demand. We can throw in some batteries and taper off that demand. And, you know, as the energy program at the guys that work with you guys will tell you, you know, if you shave a little bit of demand off those peaks, it could save you a couple $100,000 in a year just by changing your capacity charge.
And we'll put some information about the Chamber Energy Program in the show notes too. CEA, I believe, is who does that. You mentioned the batteries, and I wanted to talk about that because a lot of times I think probably one of the reservations you hear is like, hey, if it's cloudy out, I'm not actually doing anything. But over the last 10 years, those batteries have changed the game quite a bit. I know from the home side of things, you get a wall battery, you charge that up during the day and then run your house off of that overnight. And that helps offset some of those peak demand hours. I might not have stated that right, but maybe you can state that better for me.
Yeah, so with batteries, you can do it for your house. You can do it for a business. Some businesses do very large batteries. I know of $3 million battery systems they get put in. And what they can do is they can store energy and help you shave your peak demand. In California, and I think in Ohio and a few locations, you can actually use that. The grid can actually use that battery feed back to the grid, and they'll pay you a lot of money to be able to pull your battery down to help feed the grid, so they don't have to start a coal plant, as an example. If you have enough people with those batteries, big businesses, that when they get their peak demand on July 20th, because it's 100 degrees out, instead of starting up another plant, if they could just pull those batteries down for those 2 hours of AC time, they write you a pretty good size check. And then also with like Hancock Wood, I think it is, you have a system where on just residential electric, you're paying something like 6 cents during the night. You're paying 15 cents during the day. You could put in a small residential battery that charges at night. You pull off of it during the day, and now you're paying 6 cents instead of that 14 cents for your power. That's a great way to get a battery system and pay for it and save you a lot of money. And on the residential side, you still get your 30% on batteries.
Mhm.
So the battery portion doesn't go away. It's a great way to stable out your power bill that way. And with businesses, like we said, we're shaving peak to band, and we're also, with or without solar, it can offer some cost savings.
It's interesting, and this is me spitballing an idea that I have and I talk to people about, and I'll talk to you about it too. But it seems like that would be a great way to stabilize the energy grid, is if you
Sure.
had more people on solar and with the battery. You're just not asking those plants to do as much during the summer when it's so hot out. Uh,
Sure.
it's not necessarily that you're going to be completely self-sufficient, but the grid can be a whole lot more stable, and that's better for all of us.
Right. And one of the big problems you're running into with the data centers, they're not, you know, I use AI. Everybody uses AI in
Mhm.
some form or fashion. It's gotta happen. But one of the challenges you have with the grid is, once a data center gets installed and they turn that sucker on and it goes through its learning phase, it can pull more power than the city of Findlay. And then once it's done with its learning phase, it comes back down and uses maybe half the power that it used. And then it'll cycle in and out.
Mhm.
And now you've got these generators. How do they deal with those peaks? They've got to deal with it. You don't want your power going out. So that's why you have more capacity charges, because they have to have standby energy to be able to turn that on so that when those peaks hit, they can handle it. The nice thing about solar is it's at your house. You're the one making money off of it, not some big company. We only install solar on the property where the power is going to be used. So the guy that buys the solar, he's the one that pockets the
Yeah.
money, and it helps offset the grid completely.
So the bottom line is, if you are a business looking at this, you need to start looking at it a little bit quicker if you want to save money on the project and keep it affordable, or at least more affordable. Terry, again, walk us through that process. Let's say I've got my widget factory. I want to start saving some money on that. What do I need to be doing right now?
Well, it's a real simple process. It all starts with your electric bill. You'll get with us. You'll send us your electric bill. We'll do an analysis on it, figure out what you got going on, where you might be able to put solar at. We'll talk to you a little bit about LED lights if you don't have them, all of that. And once we've analyzed that, we'll put you together a quick proposal. It's just a couple of pages, kind of tells you what the price of it's going to be, what your return on investment's going to be, and then if you say, well, this makes sense, I'm going to make a good amount of money. Typically you're in the 12 to 25% return rate on these things. And then we'll put together a proposal for you, a formal, long proposal that has production guarantees and all of those things in it that you can commit to. And then we take a small deposit. Once we have the deposit, now we got 4 years. We got a nice
Mhm.
runway to take our time. You'll get that same tax credit just like you started it up this year. So it's a very simple process. We don't take a whole lot of your time. We don't believe in wasting people's times. We'll just put something in front of you. You say you like it, we'll move forward. If not, great to talk to you. Call us when your electric goes up and you're ready to talk to us.
I think it's definitely worth the conversation. I think all business owners are looking at all the ways they can save on their bottom line. And sometimes that's going to require a little bit of an investment, but it's going to make sense over the long term. Terry,
Sure.
people want to have that conversation with you. What's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, you can reach out to us over here at Superior Energy or Solutions. Website's www.senergys.com. You can email me at terry@senergys.com, or you can give me a shout on my cell phone, 419-905-5923. It's a quick process, locks in your energy, and you're going to get some savings.
All right, Terry, we appreciate it. Thank you for reaching out with this topic. This is exactly something that's on a lot of people's minds right now. And I needed a guest. So we knocked
Hey,
out
there
a
you
couple
go.
of
Worked out.
things. Appreciate your time today, Terry.
All right. Thanks, Doug.